Meantime, all right, so welcome along. I'm going to share my screen with you and we're going to get straight into it. Very exciting topic here with Passover coming up. And if there is anyone who's playing back, this is also relevant to any festival, really. So I did invite anyone celebrating Easter, but we can really, use some of these tips and thoughts for any festivity or even just events in general. So, what I wanted to cover today, first of all, the most important element of any journey that we are on is mindset, because that really sets us up for the direction that we're going to head in. The most important thing that I always talk about is not aiming for perfection, aim for intention. Inevitably, we aim for perfection. None of us are ever going to get 100%. Even the most elite athletes, there's always that element of not quite being 100%. So it's important just to know that the intention is there. A week of different food isn't going to undo your progress. And for Passover, especially, it's about connection. It's about tradition. It's about spirituality. And it's not supposed to be all or nothing. It's supposed to be a time for us to really enjoy, connecting with family and friends and enjoying food as well. So finding that balance. And yeah, one average week doesn't ruin the results. So we just want to make sure we keep going. We want to stay positive, and I'll give you some tips along the way of how we can make the most of it. First up, moving your body. Really, there's no excuses needed. Even 10, 15 minutes a day is going to count. Something's going to be better than nothing, whether it's a walk, a stretch, some body weight exercises, circuits, put on some music and dance. Obviously, for people who are religious and, they're a little bit limited with what they can do, there's still something that you can do. So as I said, 10, 15 minutes is really going to be better than nothing. And you know that if you go for that 10-minute walk around the block, you're clearing your mind, you're getting your heart rate up, you're getting those endorphins flowing, and you're going to feel so much better than perhaps just sitting on the couch after having some big meals. So do what you can, not what you think you should do. And again, that's where the mindset thing comes into it, is that we don't want to beat ourselves up. We just want to know that we've given it all that we can, and 10, 15 minutes is, again, going to be better than nothing. And a fun thing that you can do is to get other people involved, whether it's the kids, whether it's some of your guests going for a walk, or encouraging, the people that you go to for a meal, to get up and go for a walk or something like that. But most people are going to be pretty happy to have those feel good, hormones flowing. And it might be a nice opportunity to also break away with a loved one, if it's a parent or a child, and go for a walk or something like that. So making sure that you're doing the best that you can, doing something. A mini goal could be that 10 minutes of movement per day, and that's 70 minutes for the week. So when you put it like that, that's an awesome goal that everybody can really aspire to achieve. So let's talk about nutrition. And if there are any questions about exercise, of course, feel free to shoot through any messages at the end of once you've watched this playback. But let's talk about nutrition tips. First of all, the most important tip for every meal, no matter the festival, no matter the day, the week, the month, the year, protein at every meal. That's what's going to fill you up. That's what's going to keep your metabolism firing, because it's hard work to process protein. So filling up as much as you can on protein. It's eggs, it's fish, it's chicken, it's beef. Obviously there's also beans, maybe tofu, whatever it is that you can introduce that you're happy to eat. Loading up on vegetables, obviously, it's great to fill your plate up with as many roasted vegetables, salads, soups, whatever you can. And there's the bulk of the meal. So if you can prioritize those, then it's okay to add a little bit of the extra stuff. And we'll talk about balancing that in. But if you can really focus on the protein and the veggies, fill up on those as much as you can, as much as you like, you're going to be pretty well off. And of course, when we talk about protein, we're talking about lean protein. So I'm not referring to the fried foods or the fatty foods when it comes to protein. Staying hydrated as well. So obviously with matzah, we know that can be quite, it's going to sit in our stomachs, and making sure you're drinking lots and lots of water or even herbal teas. That's not only going to fill you up, it's going to keep you satiated. It's going to make you feel like you're a little bit more full. So I always suggest having a cup of water before a meal is going to help you feel full. And try not to skip meals, because sometimes we think we've had a really big meal, we're going to skip a meal, but actually what that ends up doing is making us really hungry for the next meal, and we end up sort of losing that self-control, and then you end up potentially binging. So skipping meals is really important. Something I talk a lot about with my coaching is making sure that even if you did have, some people say a stuff up meal or something like that, just make sure that you're still having small meals around that so that you're not dropping your blood sugars too low and then, wanting to eat the wrong things. So a tip that I'll often do before I go out to a restaurant or a meal at somebody's house or something like that is I will actually eat protein or veggies before I go out. So that kind of just takes the edge off a little bit and allows me to not come into the meal ravenous, and then you end up snacking on the things that you shouldn't necessarily be or didn't want to necessarily be snacking on. So keeping that in mind, and hopefully that's a tip that you can incorporate, if you do go out socially quite a lot as well. So these are some specific carb options for Passover. And carbs, sometimes you think that there's not a lot of choice, but there are great choices. They're going to be good for you. They're going to be really full of nutrients. They're going to keep you fueled, and they're going to keep you satisfied, because if you don't eat carbs, what inevitably happens is we eat the protein and we eat the vegetables, and because there's no carbohydrate to fill us up, we then get hungry really quickly. Whereas if you add the carbohydrates to the meal, that's the energy, that's the fuel that kind of carries you through for a number of hours. And if it's got that slow GI, low GI release, you're going to feel fuller for longer as well. So great options for Passover, for any time of the year, really. Quinoa, sweet potato, pumpkin, fruit, and potato. So fruit and potato in moderation, of course, just because obviously fruit is quite high in calories. So, you don't want to be eating fruit all day long, might get a stomach ache. Try and balance that out. Potato, of course, avoiding deep fried versions. Boiled or roasted is going to be fantastic. Some spices, there's nothing wrong with eating half or even a whole, medium potato. It's got great nutrients in it, and it's going to fill you up. It's going to keep you satiated. Matzah is also not such a bad option. People get really scared of it. And I think the big issue with matzah is that it's just so moreish. You can just keep eating it. So you do need to be conscious of how much you're eating. But one piece of matzah in a meal is really not a big deal at all. There's really not much in it. I'll break that down for you in a second. But as long as you're pairing your carbs with your protein, or your protein with your carbs, healthy fats, you're going to help that blood sugar from dropping too low, and then you're going to potentially want to, again, like we said with skipping meals, that's where the binges come in, because blood sugar is so low. So making sure you're not skipping meals and making sure you are getting enough carbohydrate to fill you up, because otherwise you're going to be hungry an hour later. So hopefully that all makes sense to you now. Some breakfast ideas as well, which is something that often comes up through Passover. I'm just going to make sure actually that I meant to put myself as the pinned one, but I'm not sure that I did. Anyway, hopefully it's all good for the playback. Breakfast ideas: easy, satisfying, Passover-friendly breakfast that won't spike your blood sugar or leave you starving. So again, having the carbohydrates in the morning is a really good idea, because that's what's going to carry you through till lunch, or potentially till that morning snack. So quinoa breakfast bowl is a great option. You can have that any time of the year. Scrambled eggs or an omelette, sweet potato hash, protein smoothies. I know that's an issue for some of my religious ladies, finding a kosher for Passover protein powder. But, if you can find one, having a smoothie is a great option, or a shake. Cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, fruit and nuts. I mean, these are sort of breakfasts that we could have year round, really. And that's the big thing that I want to say about Passover or any festival, is not much really needs to change. I know it sounds like it does, because Passover is such a big deal in terms of cleaning, and, we do eat somewhat differently, but we don't need to. Obviously, we want to enjoy the tradition, but we don't need to overhaul our entire way of life. This is how we should be eating normally anyway. So coconut flour pancakes, Matzah Brei, which is a really popular one. And can you still have it? Of course you can. But what I want you to understand is the matzah doesn't really have any nutritional value in it in terms of nutrients. So it's just carbohydrate. There's a very small amount of protein, 130 to 150 calories per sheet. So really you want to be cautionary with how much you eat, one per meal, or one a couple of times a day. But again, it's going to depend what you're going to pair it with. So think about what toppings you're going to have with it. The Matzah Brei can be a really, really simple meal here, where you've just got some eggs and some olive oil, maybe some sweetener, some cinnamon, a little bit of honey. There's sugar-free maple syrup, unless I'm not sure if that is kosher for Passover, but if you're not that strict, there are some great options. And of course, something savory, some herbs, something like that. So, it's a really lovely, fun thing to do, especially as a family, and you don't have to be afraid of it. Once again, something that I try and coach all of my clients is you can still have the foods that you love. It's all about portion control. You still have the chocolate, you still have the wine and cheese, but it's about managing how much you have. So hopefully that gives you some ideas there. But balancing it out obviously with fruits, yogurts, whatever it is that you want to have, but you can definitely still have your matzah. So dealing with the actual Seder, which is a long night, it's a lot of food. Some of my tips are, first of all, to take some small portions. And the first one I'll say again is to make sure that you come into the meal having had something to take the edge off before you actually sit down at the table, because it could be a good hour before you start. So once the food is served, just take small portions, savor it, eat slowly. We know that the slower we eat, it gives our brain time to actually register what's going on with the food. We can enjoy the food more. Put your fork and spoon or whatever down between bites. Enjoy the food in your mouth. Eat, chew slowly. Don't go to the table starving. Obviously, I've covered that. That's the sort of thing that I'll do is I'll snack on a boiled egg or a handful of nuts, or I'll have some biltong, or I'll have a salad or some tuna or something before a meal. And that's really, really light. Obviously, with the nuts, you need to be careful how many you have, but just something light, and it does take the edge off. Choose your indulgences. If you love dessert, enjoy the dessert. Again, if that's the one thing of the day that you're going to really enjoy and it's going to make you happy, have it, and you manage the rest of the day accordingly. Don't skip the things that you don't care about. So if there is something on the table that doesn't interest you, don't feel pressure. This is a big one that I talk to a lot of clients about, is that social pressure of having to drink wine or having to eat certain foods when you're out. I always suggest that you take a dish with you if you're going to someone's house, because then you're ensuring that there is something there that you're really comfortable eating, but trying not to feel any pressure. This is your life. This is your body. You're in control. Many people will not understand your journey. Many people will not understand your goals, but that's okay. It's your journey. It's your goals. So choose your indulgences, enjoy it, but also be really cautious not to fall into the trap of eating something that you just don't want or need. You can have a little bit of everything. You don't need a lot of everything. Enjoy it. Again, it's your body, and nothing should be out of bounds. That's how you avoid having a bad relationship with food. That's a whole nother slide series. Staying connected with your why. Remember how far you've come. Be proud of small wins. So not binging, choosing vegetables, walking post-meal, drinking water, whatever it is. Be proud, be positive. You are taking those baby steps day by day, week by week. You're not going to be starting over after Pesach. You're going to be continuing on. So even if things halted a little bit, even if you ate more than you anticipated or intended on, it's okay. A couple of days isn't going to completely derail you. So a tip that I've got as well is something for mindset, where, again, you keep a journal. This is something that I've worked on with a lot of clients, is keeping a journal of your why, and the dirty piece of paper that some of you will understand what that is, but why does this process or the goal that you have, why does it matter? And digging deep into that. You can journal during a festivity week, every day, something that was a daily win, something that made you feel positive about your journey, something that made you feel happy. And recognizing those wins each day keeps the momentum of you succeeding into the next day, rather than focusing on negative things, that I ate too much or that I didn't move my body. Focus on the positive things. What were you able to achieve? Was it the walk post meal? Was it drinking water? Was it just saying no? Whatever it is. So if you can keep that little journal, I'm pretty sure that positive mindset will continue to flow. And hopefully you will come out of the week feeling really, really positive and successful. It's not about guilt. It shouldn't be about guilt. Again, as I said at the beginning of the talk, it's a time to be enjoyed and embraced. It's normal to feel overwhelmed. You're in a new rhythm. You've all been working so hard towards your goals, and then suddenly Passover comes along. But again, you're not starting over at the end of the week. You're not completely being thrown off for the week. You're just going to adapt a little bit. You're just going to change a few things. And these sort of things are going to come up every month, if not, every few weeks, perhaps, when there are occasions, festivals, celebrations. So learning to adapt, learning how to keep moving forward through them is absolutely essential. Reminding yourself, food is part of the joy. It's part of life. I love food. I want to enjoy food, and I balance it out. I know when I'm having my treats that I can indulge and have a date night or burgers with my kids, but then the rest of the time, reining it in and doing what I need to do. When I eat those beautiful meals of indulgence, I eat with presence. I really savor the moment. I enjoy it. I don't punish myself at the end, because I know that that was part of I don't like to use the word reward, but it's part of the enjoyment of life. Movement is a gift, not a chore. That should be a really, really important one to keep reminding ourselves as well. We get the gift of movement. So many people who wish they could do the things that we do. So really embracing that. The best thing you can do is stay involved in your own health choices. Really stay focused and stay steadfast in what you want to achieve. Again, similar to what I'm saying about peer pressure, it's your life, your choice. Again, progress isn't lost in a week, especially when you're aware and intentional. You're doing the best that you can. If you put on perhaps a kilo or two in a week, most likely it's going to be fluid from the different foods that you've been eating. It's very hard to put on body fat, and I want to remind you all of that the scales are not going to be the best way to judge what's happened over the course of the week. So try and ignore them if you can. You can choose joy. You can make smart choices. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. That 10 minutes a day of exercise, or those few meals that you can plan, even if you can't plan for one or two of them because you're going out perhaps. You are more in control than you think. So even if a meal or even if a day goes off plan, your next choice gets you back on track. It's really up to you to flick the switch in your brain and get yourself back on track. Only you can do it, but also those of you who are working with me, that's what I'm here to assist you with, until it becomes more of a natural habit for you to do that on your own. You've got your mindset, you've got your awareness, you've got your tools, and you've got me. Hopefully, those of you who are watching, you've got me. One holiday week doesn't undo all of your hard work. So if you slip, no guilt, no shame, no starting again on Monday. Pick the next healthy action. If you've stuffed up a lunch, you can still make it up at dinner. If you haven't done your walk one day, you can still do it the next day. Get to bed on time, make good choices. You're not going to be behind. You just have to keep going. Progress is not linear. It's consistent effort over time. Consistency is absolutely key. You've got to keep moving forward. The only time that you will fail is if you stop, if you give up. After Passover or after any festival, schedule your first training session. Make sure that it is locked into your diary, into your calendar as soon as the festival is over. Plan your meals. Make sure that you've got the meals and you've got the food that you need on hand. Don't do a detox. You don't need to do a detox. Doing exercise and eating healthy food is the best possible thing you can do for your body. And having that consistent, healthy routine, mindset, pattern is the best thing that you can do rather than yo-yoing and detoxing. Your body doesn't need it. Return to your normal rhythm. Put it in your calendar now if you need to. Pause the video if you're playing back and get yourself sorted for the rest of the week. You've got this. Your health isn't about being perfect for 7 days. It's just about being consistent, about showing up for yourself, even if it's just 10% each day, rather than nothing. You can do 10%. Maybe you can do more. You're allowed to celebrate your heritage. You should be taking care of your body. You can balance both of them. So be proud of who you are and how far you've come. Please let me know if you have any questions at all. Those of you who are on the call with me, you are welcome to ask me anything you like. And those of you who are playing back, please feel free to message. Hi, ladies. Any questions for me? What stood out for you there as something that is really like a light bulb moment?
The mindful eating.
Eat slowly. Take your time. Enjoy it.
Yeah. How do you manage then if you've gone out for Pesach and you've gone to a Seder in terms of sorry, I've just started it. So in terms of the tracking piece of it, because you're obviously not weighing, you don't know the calories, you don't know every ingredient. Do you know what I mean? How do you manage that?
Yeah. So there's two things, depending on how serious you are. The first one I would say is don't. Just go and enjoy it. Know that the meals the rest of the day are somewhat lower in calorie and lighter. So perhaps instead of having the cottage cheese or the yogurts, you just have the eggs, keep it really light, have some salads, and then don't worry about the dinner. Relax and enjoy it. You have that pleasure. You can have one meal or 2 meals a week that you're not tracking. But if you do feel quite firmly about wanting to make sure that you are in that calorie target, you're just going to have to be really selective about what you choose. Keep it minimal and then guess as best as you can. So stick with the chicken, stick with the salad, one piece of matzah, whatever it is, and just do your best to calculate it, because otherwise, it's you're making a choice. If you want to stick to calories, then you've got to keep it simple for yourself. Otherwise, just let it go for a night,
Yeah.
Again, that one meal is not going to ruin everything. Even if it's a high calorie meal, as long as what you do the rest of the time, that's what matters.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Does that help?
Yeah,
Takes
absolutely.
off a bit of pressure.
Yeah.
Great. Anything else? Sim, any questions?
Yeah, that was super helpful. And the breakfast ideas,
There's
they're
heaps.
yum as well. That's really good.
People don't think about it, right? Like you just don't realize, and all the combinations of all of those things that you could do.
Yeah, no, it's great. No, that was awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else, Khalid?
No. I'm sure I'll have more as I go along week one. So appreciate the advice. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And as I said, message anytime. That's what I'm here for. Use me. And I just hope that I can just give you that freedom, flexibility, but confidence to know that this is not it doesn't have to be perfect. I want you to enjoy it and try and use those. And it just takes practice. Using these methods takes practice.
Yeah.
So, keep at it. Just the
Thank
beginning.
you.
You're welcome, ladies. All the best. I'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Thanks. See you. Bye.
Bye.